Clayton Bailey here with Tool Time Tuesday. So today we are talking about GFCI outlet testers. All right, so I've got a variety of them in front of me. We're going to be talking about each of them individually and kind of why do we got to use them, right? So if you don't know me, Clayton Bailey, Green Scene Home Inspections, third generation home inspector. Been in the business 17 years, over 20,000 houses that we've done here in the DFW area. And I like to talk houses. I like to educate. So I work for a home inspection school. I train home inspectors. I teach real estate agents as well. So I love to give and provide education, and I'm always kind of just trying to push it to the next level. So I feel like if you're not learning, you're not living, right? So I'm always just curious because I see students that come to my class and they go and they buy like the cheapy thing. Some of them spend money on the good stuff. I see some of my inspectors that they have their personal favorites and stuff. So I just wanted to kind of share it with the world and say if there's any other inspectors out there, if there's any homeowners, electricians, or anybody out there is just curious about outlet testers and like, why should I be picky and choosy about it, right? We're going to go over that and we're going to talk about it. So before I get started, I kind of like to talk about the history, right? So GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter. We are in 2024 right now, so 2023 National Electric Code has been adopted. So there's a lot of GFCI changes that have just happened. So we've got all kitchen outlets have to be GFCI, all breakers 50 and up and under have to be GFCI, anything in an attic, anything in a basement, anything within 6 feet of a sink, and little change on the countertops, but we won't get to that one. So anyways, do you know, you think it was residential or commercial? That was the first GFCI circuit ever introduced on a national level. What's your guess? A or B?
We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hi, Alex Ferrero. I'm here with Tools Time Tuesday. I'd like to discuss a couple items that I like to use during my inspections when checking electrical. One of them being, I use these basic little testers. I think you can get these at Harbor Freight. They don't have a test button or anything like that. One of the reasons I like to use them is, let's say I have, we like to really focus on pictures for our clients. We like to present information to our clients. So one of the things I'll do is, let's say that I have an open ground somewhere, I may pop this in there and leave it there for the course of the inspection so that when it's time to come take pictures, I may be able to swing through, take a picture, and that gives us something to talk about. So I'm not just giving them a picture of the outlet with a finger on it. But my main unit that I use, it's now manufactured by Cobalt. They used to be Commercial Electric. It's kind of a longer unit. You get a good grip on it. It has a reset button. It also has a voltage sniffer, so you can get close to the units and make sure that they that they're live. This one will tell you open, neutral, open ground, and it does have the means to reset our GFCIs, okay, trip our GFCIs should we need to do that.
All right, if you guessed it's commercial, you would be correct. So the very first GFCI circuits were introduced in commercial swimming pools, and the lights for swimming pools had to be GFCI protected. Now, do you know who invented the very first GFCI outlet? No. All right, well, Charles Dalziel, he was a professor at University of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and he was an electrical engineer, and he went on to win many, many awards, but he's really known for his testing of the electrical shock effects on man. He wrote a paper based upon that. I was kind of doing some research and stuff. It's very interesting, but basically, kind of like in Ghostbusters, he would shock people until certain tolerances, and they would find out like how much it hurt and what did it affect on you, right? So for those of you that don't know anything about electricity, so old school, there's you've got, Thomas Edison versus Nikola Tesla, right? So it was DC versus AC, or for you rock band members out there, it's AC/DC, because AC wins. So Tesla had come up with alternator current, and Thomas Edison had direct current, like a battery, like a storage cell. And there was just a battle for this. If you watch the show, J.P. Morgan Chase, the banker, backed Thomas Edison and his inventions, but then, it was kind of Nikola Tesla went with Westinghouse as his backer, and that was the more powerful electricity. And so Thomas Edison actually invented the very first electric chair to prove that electricity was bad. They had lots of criminals, and there was lots of hangings, and they were trying to do something that was more clean, right? So the very first execution that they did, they got shocked with 1,000 volts. This person didn't die. This was in the 1890s, I believe, if I'm correct, somewhere back in there. This person didn't die, so they had to switch it up to 2,000 volts, right? And then he caught on fire. The blood vessels burst, eyes burst. It was real ugly, and apparently it took like 8 minutes to die. It was not pretty. So then the state regulations came out and said, okay, well, you got to have at least 3,000 volts in order to perform, execution by electric chair. So that was the standard. That was the guideline. They kind of figured it out, and finally it kind of went a lot faster, right? But we, as inspectors, we have to keep people safe, and believe it or not, 50 milliamps is enough to reset your heart and or cause cardiac arrest. So that's not a lot of when you look at it, right? So our regular outlets, that you see here, those are 120 volts, not 3,000. So there's nowhere near as much juice, but it doesn't take that much to do it. So Charles Delzille, the professor at Berkeley, he's the one that came up with sort of like, from here to here, it's going to tingle. And from here to here, you're going to have muscle contractions. From here to here, you're going to have internal organ damage and or death, right? So not good stuff. So we have to look out for anything that's around water and electricity, right? They don't mix. So what's going on? You can tell I've got a lot of different tools laid out here. I do have a surge bar here, and I'm going to be plugging things into it. And I know that it's not a wall outlet. I know that I'm probably not doing it. I'm just trying to do this for you guys so that you can see it. Okay. So, I'm going to go through all these and kind of pick them apart and kind of give you my pluses and minuses as a home inspector, what we use in the field, what's durable, what lasts, what's kind of silly, that kind of fun stuff. But Klein is, if you ask an electrician what's their favorite tool, Klein is usually the Klein brand here. I'll hold this up so that you can see it here. So that's usually your number one brand preferred by electricians. Second place, right, is Milwaukee. Milwaukee also preferred by electricians. But there's a lot of different brands out there. There's other house brands. You've got your Lowe's, Home Depot. They make their own brands and stuff. As professional inspectors, we want to make sure that we're using the best tools and equipment, right? If you followed me on my Manufacturer Monday, we just talked about GFCI outlets. So I've got a few of them still just sitting over here for testing and that kind of fun stuff. I showed you some of the burnt ones, right, that weren't connected properly. So I'm going to hold this one up so that you can see it over here on this camera. So 14 to 18 inch-pounds of torque is what it takes to torque down on that screw to the wire. And if it's loose, it's right, and then this happens. So manufacturer's instructions are always important. However, let's get into some tool time talk. All right, we're here with you for Tool Time Tuesday. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So let's dig into this. Let's see what's going on. First up is our Milwaukee. So I've got a battery already in this thing. I've got it open. Hopefully I don't cut myself on the packaging here. So We're gonna get this dude out of here. So Milwaukee, right off the bat, a little bit heavier. I like that. There's a little bit more to it. You power it on. There's a really nice digital display on the front of it that's got everything there. Right, it's, you know, open, hot, and then there's a bunch of zeros. I wonder what that does. Let's find out. So I'm gonna hold my surge bar up here so that we can do this number. And then let's see. I'm gonna try to hold this up here so that you can see this. So maybe this camera over here can pick it up. It's 125 volts, and it says it's correct, and I've got the green light, right? So that's cool. And then if it was GFCI, I would hit that test button on the GFCI just to see what's it like, right? So love that. I like the digital display. I like the voltage reading that it tells you 125 volts. That's pretty awesome. It's a little bit pricier. So this one is $26.97. So out of all of them, that's just on the smaller style. This is the one that's probably on the higher end of price, right? Nothing wrong with that. I like kind of the rubberized gripping of it. Just because, you know, we're in and out of a lot of houses and we're constantly bending over, testing out, bending over, testing outlet. So it's nice to be able to have something that's gonna let it grip and rip, right? Now, not to be outdone, we have the Klein. So Klein's our big brand here. Again, has the digital display on it so that you can see everything. This one, it doesn't have the rubberized, but actually has a little bit sharper grips. So I felt like, you know, this one is a little bit rubbery, where if your hands were a little bit wet, maybe you could grip this one a little bit better. This one is just barely, well, actually, no, they're about the same weight, all right? Orange is my favorite color, so I'm partial to Klein. No, they didn't pay me for this advertisement, by the way. Maybe someday. So let's use this dude and test it. So holding it up here. Huh, well, that's odd. We've got 123. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just for fun, I'm gonna go back to this Milwaukee, same outlet, and it's 124. Oh, now it's 125. So a little bit off on the reading there. Let's go back one more time just to check this again. 123 doesn't fluctuate. So the Milwaukee kind of found its way and it actually went on the higher side a little bit. So 123. So I do like these. For homes, they're great, right? If you're doing a commercial inspection though, you know, outlets are supposed to be upside down. So, you know, if you do this upside down, I can't read it very easily without having to like get under there and see it. So from that aspect, it's, you know, okay, there's a ding on it. But either one of these I like. I believe, I gotta get out my cheat sheet. I believe this one was $21.97. Yeah, $21.97 for that one, right? And then we're gonna go over here to the big dog. So this one is a Klein as well. This is AFCI and GFCI. So, you know, building code started for AFCI, arc fault circuit interrupter, in 2006, first NEC code, and all bedrooms had to be AFCI. So if you're listening out there and you don't know what AFCI is, that's arc fault circuit interrupter, not to be confused with ground fault circuit interrupter. And everyone's like, well, aren't they the same thing? No, they are not. Ground fault circuit interrupter has to do with water so that you don't get shock decuted. I made up that word, by the way. That's my word. Ever since I was a little kid, I used to say shock decuted, and gription was my other one. Instead of saying traction, I said gription. Anyways, back to AFCI. So AFCI really came about, I've heard a couple different stories. One is because of surge bars and power strips that they were being mass produced, and they were everywhere, and the wires inside weren't connected well, didn't work well, and so then they would short and melt and catch on fire. So that's bad. They arced out, right? So we need something to protect against that. So 2006 IRC, not the NEC, but the IRC adopted all bedrooms have to be AFCI. So the 2009 IRC came out, and then all bedrooms and living spaces had to be AFCI. The other story behind AFCI, and I know we're talking about GFCI, but AFCI is that there was a kid that went to his dad's garage, got a big old long nail, put it in the drywall to hang up a poster or something in his room, hit the wire on the other side, and it shorted out, house caught on fire. So now we have to have arc fault, right? Behind every rule, behind every building code, I always say, there's a body. Someone died. That's why we have to have codes and rules, right? So going back to the arc fault, at the time, when I first started, it was in 2008, 2009, there was only one outlet tester that did AFCI and GFCI, and it was almost $180. It was made by Ideal. It was expensive, and most electricians were not wiring the AFCI properly. So anyways, I'm getting off track about AFCI, but I did want you to know what arc fault circuit interrupter is. So back to this Klein big dog. So this one is on the little bit higher side for price. It's $39.97. However, I think it's worth it because you can do both sides of testing. For those inspectors out there, you know that those old school little covers, exterior covers, it's hard to get one of these in there without breaking the door, without like breaking off the little door. I've had to replace those before, right? We as inspectors, if we break it, we own it, we got to fix it. It sucks, but do the right thing, always tell the truth and help others. That's our company motto. If you do that, everything's good. The other reason I like that is if you have a floor outlet, you can plug this into floor outlet. Or if you have a really hard to weird reach nook or cranny, you can get that cord in there. So I do like that aspect of it. We'll go ahead and just plug it in so you can see. I'm going to use the same plug just so that everybody can see it at home. So I turn it on, all my lights light up. So if you can see that, and it says correct wiring. It says it's energized. It says it has power. So if you can see that there, so that's all of our lights that are coming on. And then I could test GFCI, AFCI, and they did a 30 milliamp test. So I'm assuming that's like doing a small arc fault on the circuit to put a little on to see what it does, like some resistance. Our building or our standards of practice for our state, Texas, don't require that we have to do that specific testing. All we have to do is hit the button at the breaker. That's it, right? We're not supposed to have specialized tools or equipment. So this one, I would recommend it, although carrying it in your tool belt always might be a little big, right? Or if you have your back pocket, you're always going to have a little tail that's hanging out there. But I still like it. I recommend it. I think all inspectors should have one in the bag. It's $40. Makes you look like a rock star. You don't have excuses not to get to something. And if you have a vacant house, you can do AFCI, GFCI at every outlet. And you would be surprised at how many... I hate to throw out this statistic, but when I first started in the business, arc faults, there were like 3 houses that I found that were correct. That was it, just 3. So there's a lot of wiring that they were not wired properly. So this is your actual tester where you can test that versus that button that you're gonna hit out there. So Square D, if you don't know about it, 2001, 2003, the first GFCIs, they were recalled. So if you have one of those at your home or you don't know about that, now you do, right? Knowledge is power. So next I'm gonna move on. We've got our Klein combo, right? And so that one comes in this kit, or it comes with your little voltage sniffer. So I'll turn on our little voltage sniffer so you can see they're pretty light. So combo number 1 is $17.97. And then if you got combo number 2, which is the 3-prong tester and the tester, that's $24.97. So this dude is handy dandy if you are going to test a circuit. So I'm gonna test, over here, nothing. But when I stick it in the hot side, it's lighting up, letting me know that it's hot. So I've got power, and you got to put it all the way in to make it work. Make sure that you guys can see that. So good to have these things. When I'm training new inspectors, I tell them to use a voltage sniffer to touch the panel. Make sure that it's not energized so that you're not getting shock acuted when you go to take off the panel box, because electricity is dangerous, right? So I'm gonna take this one apart. I want to tell you my story, like a story that happened to us in the inspection world, and I had to modify this tool. I'm going to pull it out here so that you can see it. So this is just a regular 2-prong tester, but I modified this one, and after this break, you're going to see how I modified it. I'll be right back, but stay tuned. Okay, I'm back. So check it out. So your 2-prong tester. Inspectors are required to test all outlets in a house, right? So anything that's accessible, we should be testing. However, if something is, furniture's in the way or whatever, we're not going to get to it. The dryer outlet is one of those that they don't make a 3-prong tester for a dryer outlet. So what we're going to do is just take a 2-prong tester, and this one has 240, right, and 120, so it's going to let you know what it lights up. I'm going to take the caps off of this. So this is, these are protective, so if you have it in your pocket, you don't get poked by these little ends there, right? So that's about how much. I'm going to stick these here. So that's about how much is in there. So if you're testing just a normal outlet, I'm going to go light this up. Oh, it just lit up. Let's see if I can get it again. Come on. Oh, dang it. Here we go. There it is. So if you can see it light up, it's 120, right? And it's throwing out that it is what voltage it is. So it's 64 volts, and then it's lighting up 160. So it goes by scale, right? You have 32, 64, 120, 330 volts. So it is going all the way up to 160 or 120 volt for sure. So that's that, right? Now, that's just a regular outlet or socket. But as you know, inspectors, or if you don't know, non-inspectors, a 220 dryer outlet is a lot deeper. You got to go through a lot more plastic to get to metal to get contact. So what I did is I cut even more of this away, right? So I cut this part off and I cut that part off. So now I can get all the way into a dryer outlet, right? And this is the way I've always trained my guys. This is the way we've always done it. So you put your ground on one, test the hot, put the ground on the other, test the other side. So both legs make up 240, right? So 120 on each side. That's the way we've always done it. So here's the bad story, or here's what happened. So we have one of my inspectors who inspected this house. 2 or 3 weeks later, this lady was moving in, and she bought new appliances, had them delivered from Lowe's, and Lowe's is installing the appliances. And I gotta tell you that the appliances are stacked, right? So washing machine, dryers on top, okay? I'm telling you that because it's important to the story. So I get a phone call from my office. My girl at the office is like, "Hey, this lady's freaking out. Her wall just caught on fire. They plugged in the appliance washing machine at her house and the wall caught on fire." And I'm like, "Whoa, that sounds crazy." So I have this picture up here so that you can see it. And I immediately drove out to the house because I want to know what's going on. If she's saying the wall is on fire, I gotta see this. I've never seen a wall just catch on fire by plugging something in. I was like, something's weird, something's going on. So I go, you can see that's my hand, you see my ring there. So that's me. I took the outlet out, right? I just wanted to check all the wiring, make sure that it was good. I didn't see any arcing or burning in the wall like she said there was. So I put it back together, and I was checking on that because I wanted to make sure this wasn't happening, right? Because 14 to 18 inch-pounds of torque bloop, has to be done on that wire. So I took that out. I am checking that, and I'm looking at, like, is it all tight? Is it all good? Or is it wired properly? It was a flip house, of course. You dang flippers out there. Flippers and inspectors are oil and water. Terrible. They always try to hide stuff. Anyways, it looked okay to me. I brought 2 different outlet testers with me. I plugged into this outlet and everything was fine. I was getting all green lights. Everything was normal. So I asked this lady, I'm like, "Do you have a lamp? Just a regular old lamp. Let me plug this lamp in. I'm gonna prove that nothing's catching on fire. Nothing sparks or blowing up or whatever. Like, let me just do this." So she gives me this lamp, plug it in, light comes on. no problem. So I'm like, okay. I tested the dryer outlet just like I did with you right here, right? Ground hot, no problems. So they got all the lights lit up. So I'm like, tell me about how this thing got delivered. So she said, well, Lowe's dropped this thing off. I was the last stop of the evening, and they came at night and they unloaded it in my driveway, and they started cutting the paper and plastic off the outside, and then took it inside, stacked it up, and plugged it in, and boom, it sparked, right? And I'm like, wait, did you say they were cutting on the outside of it? And she said, yes. And I was like, aha. I was like, I have a feeling that they probably cut that wire, the power cord, and that probably arced out against the water line, because you can kind of see right here on this picture, there's a non-burnt area. Well, that's where the water line was, because it was electrifying the braided mesh part of the water line, right? So I said, well, I would call Lowe's, Home Depot, or Lowe's back and say, hey, I think that the delivery guys accidentally cut the wire. Is there any way that we could get that line replaced and, come bring my appliances back? So Lowe's was awesome. They actually brought new appliances out and stacked it, plugged it in, poof, same thing happened again, right? And I'm like, what is going on? So she called electrician out. I'm hearing this after the fact. She calls electrician out. Electrician's like, well, your ground and your hot wire on your dryer outlet was reversed. So your inspector should have caught that. That is the line in our industry, by the way. Inspector should have caught that. Well, if you go by our standards of practice, we're not required to carry specialized tools or equipment. There's no such thing as a dryer outlet tester. So how are you going to know? I was asking one of my mentors, a senior inspector guy who's been around forever. I was like, how do you test? And he's like, well, I have a ground wire that I run over to another outlet, and I ground off of that. And then I test those hot wires. I said, so you made your own tool? And he's like, yeah. I was like, so you use specialized equipment? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to make specialized equipment like that. I'm going to just modify really nice equipment. So anyways, long story short, she's coming after me. She happened to be an attorney. And what we said was, hey, I'm sorry that this has happened to you. It's something that we couldn't have caught. We're not breaking any rules. We didn't, we followed our guidelines. We did what we're supposed to do. We told you that this outlet in question that is in this picture was not GFCI protected. It is supposed to be GFCI protected. We told you to call the electrician. The electrician probably could have discovered the dryer outlet had they been out, right? But they didn't come out. So as a gesture of good faith, we'd like to offer you your, around $700 inspection fee back, and we're really sorry that this happened. So we didn't hear from this gal for like almost a year. And then out of the blue, she's like, hey, you owe me money. I want this back, and I've got to have this fixed. And it's like, well, didn't you already have that fixed? So we have kind of a waiver. We say, sign here, we'll give your money back, but then we're not doing anything else. Our relationship is, hands washed, we're done. So she did that, signed everything, notarized it, sent it back. We gave her refund back, and there you go. There you have it. That's our dryer story. So even though the modification to this deal that I thought I was so nifty in doing, it didn't help that situation. There was nothing that we could have done to overcome it short of taking the outlet apart and, diagnosing it with a multimeter. So we'll talk a little bit more about the multimeter here in just a second, but stay tuned after these messages. We'll be right back.
So sometimes we'll come across older houses. Now this not being the case today, but sometimes you will find the GFCI protection in the panel. So as I said, today we don't have that, but there are some occurrences where you'll have an actual breaker that has a test button, and we come through and test them. And that's typical to 70s, 80s houses more commonly. But that's just another thing that we like to inform our clients about when they purchase their home. That's how you bring your power back if you lose it.
All right, I'm back. So, thanks for tuning in. Clayton Bailey, Green Scene Home Inspections. We're doing Tool Time Tuesday, and now we are on to the most commonly used ground fault circuit interruption testing device in existence. and this is the store brand, we'll just say that because they're not paying me to say it otherwise, store brand version of your GFCI tester. This is just your regular old 2-prong tester, super lightweight. I would say that the majority of the home inspectors in the industry probably use this one. It's $11, $12, and it's got your tester. There's some little indicators on there that says, you know, this one does that. You got correct, open ground, open neutral, reverse hot, whatever. Problem with this one is if you've got a hot, neutral, reversed, and an open ground, right? You got two things wrong. It's only going to tell you one, right? And it's going to say open ground. And a lot of inspectors are misreading the wiring because they're using this, right? And it's getting it right 75% of the time, but I'm not a 75% kind of guy. Like I want it good. So that's where this dude is gonna read all of it, right? And it tells me the voltage. Love it, right? So just for fun, we'll go ahead and do this one. Now it does have, you know, you can still read it from the bottom, unlike this one. So for commercial inspections, you're still able to see that. But yeah, no big deal. Sometimes on these though, it's hard, like if you're outside, you can't see that those lights are on, so you're like trying to squint and hold things under it, above it, like is it lighting up? I can't see if it's lighting up, it's there. But super lightweight. As inspectors, we're flying all around houses. We're doing, 30, 40 outlets in a house, depending on the size of the house. So this one's lightweight. I can throw it in my tool bag. That's why most inspectors use this one. There's nothing wrong with it other than if you're in an older house that has some two-wire system, you might be missing the call, right? You might not be saying like what it is correctly. So moving on, we've got our old multimeter friend here, and you can see that you can do this one in ohms and volts, and you can test batteries with this thing. So there's a lot of different settings that you can put on there. If we very rarely pull this out unless we see we're having like some dimming lights, or maybe there's something that's having a hard time coming, like a right? We're gonna like throw the multimeter on it to see, do we have some loss of power, or maybe it's not energized completely. That's what's nice about these, is it tells you it's getting all 120 volts, right? Well, this one was 123. This one was 125. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Next, we have probably our company's predominantly used tester. This is also, so funny thing is, your store brands or house brands, your Home Depot and Lowe's carries, they quit making these or quit carrying them in their stores. So Sperry, you can get them online. The thing that I like about this one is that it has the little voltage sniffer on top of it. So if you get around, it's gonna sense, hey, that's energized. Hey, that's energized. Hey, that's energized. Oh, I just think I'm hot. So, dad jokes for days. This is the one that I like train inspectors with, because if you want to touch the panel box to see if it's energized before you actually touch the panel box, you're going to know that it's got power. So, because somebody may have put a screw through it or something, and then you don't want to get shock decuted. That's my word. Couple things with this one. I think this is why the big box stores stopped carrying it. So one of my inspectors, super techie inspector, he plays in a band, so he's always wiring amps and guitars and like real technical kind of guy. Loves playing with soldering irons. So he took this thing apart, and because he was getting some funny readings, and the ground wire notoriously was undersized and not soldered correctly. So he put a larger size ground wire on the inside of this and resoldered it. So he does that for all of our inspectors, and then he also puts another screw through the center of it to hold the body together, because sometimes we get them in our tool bag or our back pocket or whatever. These inspectors are sitting on them, crunching them, so that seemed to keep them better together. The other reason we like this one, just like before, if you're under it or over it, you still have the readings. You still know what it's going to say, top and bottom, to make sure that you're making the right call. If you've got those floor outlets, right, those floor cans where you only have an opening like that big, you can get that dude down in there, and you don't, like where these are not going to fit. You're not going to get that one into a floor receptacle. This one you can. Holding this one, gripping this one, you got some nice grip on the side It's not super heavy. It's nice and lightweight. It's easier to pull in and out, right? So I just told you we're doing a ton of outlets in a house. We have to check every outlet. So imagine bending over outlet, bending over outlet. Sometimes these little things, right? Your hands get cramped because you're like, where this thing you got grip. I can grip and rip, right? So I like that one about these. I'll probably always encourage these. I know they're not the expensive big dog, right? They don't have the fancy reading. I carry a little bit of all these in my tool bag because I'm a weirdo like that. So that's why I do Tool Time Tuesday. So next, I have probably the one that I would least recommend out of all of these. This is a Proster. Right off the bat, oh my gosh, it just broke right in front of me. What happened? So this is why one of the reasons I don't like this thing. So they give you this just cheesy little cap that doesn't stay on, and then they advertise this as a safety feature, and then getting this one off to be able to test an outlet is like it's like you're taking the thing apart. Like you shouldn't have to work that hard to do it. What's up with that? So you turn it on, cool, there's lights, it beeps, right? So you're supposed to be able to take and put this down and it'll tell you what it is. Right? Ooh, it just told me. Where are we at? So 23. Ooh, it said 23. I've got 126. It's fluctuating. 138. No, I'll try to hold this up so you can see it. So there it is. So I've got to be holding the outside, this little safety feature, to make sure I'm away from it. So it's hitting like 135, and then it came down just a second ago, so it's fluctuating. So 135 volts. All right, well 135. This one was hitting let's see, 123, and this one was hitting 124. So I'm just saying it ain't as accurate, right? The other thing about this one is when you, because I tested all these in a GFCI tester, if you use the GFCI button on this, it doesn't work. It doesn't trip the outlet, right? That's the whole point of having a GFCI tester. Plug it in, trip the outlet. What's going on with that? So for that, and then the fact that it's not accurate, it doesn't test the GFCI, the little cap's falling off, they make this super sharp thing, right? Why not just do a nice rounded plastic tip that's not gonna stab your clothes or rip your jeans or whatever it is? I know it could be a handy dandy screwdriver, right? But I'm out on this one. So Proster, sorry, I don't like it, I'm out. There you have it. So have I helped you have a little bit better understanding of GFCI testers? I hope so. I would love for you to post in the comments down below in this section right down here. Tell me which GFCI outlet tester you use and why you like it. And make sure you like and subscribe our channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Clayton Bailey, Tool Time Tuesday, we're out.